we had a leaker. We had one fall out. Hello, I'm Danny, and Soundpeats, this new company I've never worked with before, sent me the Engine 4 Earbuds here, and so I figured we'd check them out against the Sony, the Earfun, and the Samsungs. 2, 3, 4. You can get LDAC audio for very cheap on these, cheaper than the rest of the Samsung, Sony, or the Earfun. So I figured, it's worth a shot. Let's see if it's any good for running. In terms of sound quality outdoors, I felt like these are all pretty good earbuds, and you don't really hear the nuanced differences unless you're in a quieter environment. After comparing all these, I noticed the Samsung Buds 2 Pro still seem to have the best bass out of all of them, even after EQing all of them. The apps are definitely less sophisticated on the Engine 4s, but it works just fine for EQ, and it has this really interesting mode that will actually allow you to calibrate it to specifically the frequencies you can hear. Now, could I tell a difference after I listened to it? No, not really, but it was cool that they thought of that. So to summarize why you'd get the Engine 4s, they're cheap, they provide you LDAC, and they have the longest battery life of any of the earbuds around. But that's where they kind of fall apart. They don't have noise canceling, and the microphone quality was definitely under par. The Engine 4s. Same amount of wind coming from the right side. I'm just talking. This is what they would sound like if I was having a great old conversation with my girlfriend or my dad or something like that. These are the Earfun Air Pro 3s. Decent amount of wind. Right now, just listening to my voice. Got a lot of wind coming from my right side, so this direction and this way. And here are the Samsung Buds 2 Pro. Very comfortable in the ear for just casual standing around. Here I am talking on my phone, just saying things out loud to myself because I like to think out loud. And here are the Sony Linkbuds S's. Pretty much just a little bit less wind. Yeah, the wind's dying down a little bit today, but this is just me having a conversation with you. I definitely think the Sonys were the best. This may surprise you, but the biggest problem I have when I'm running is when I smile at people I'm passing by. When I smile, it changes the shape of my ear, and then they tend to fall out. While they all stayed in, I could feel most of them, except for the earphones, working their way loose as I tried to express gratitude to people. No smiling allowed for the Engine 4s. Or the Samsungs. And here's how they did on the sprint test. All right, here we go. This feels pretty secure, pretty stable. Hey. All right, pretty good. They feel like maybe they got a little loose. I'd have the tendency to want to keep pushing them back in as I go, but they didn't feel like they were gonna fall out. They feel good. The left ear got a little bit looser. Not too terrible. I would probably still want to, give them the little love tap every once in a while and make sure they're still in, but held up pretty good. And go. Oh, we had a leaker. We had one fall out. As soon as I started turning around, the Engine 4 fell out of my right ear. I think that external bud is kind of working against you. All right, I'm about to do the jumping jack test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, actually the Engine 4s felt pretty secure for the jumping jacks. That right earbud seems to be working itself just a little bit loose. No problem on the earphones. Feels just fine. I don't feel any problem with them. They have a tendency to feel like they're getting a little loose, but in actuality, it's not really that bad. It's just the way it kind of starts to feel. Overall, I'd probably say the most stable feeling of all of them were the Earfuns, the Samsungs, and the Sonys. The Engine 4s, it feels like the shape of the earbud tends to work itself loose just because it's got such a big driver on it, which is great for sound, but not great for running. In terms of on-ear controls, it's kind of a pick your poison game because they're all different. But I will say overall, the Sony is probably the best for feedback because it plays a little tap when you tap it so you know you're actually actuating the device. The Sony and the Samsung were just a little more responsive overall than the Earfun and the Soundpeats. And here's me getting frustrated with the Earfuns. The reason I don't like these is because it's a one tap volume up, one tap volume down that gets in the way of doing the taps for the rest of the controls. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful. And since you've watched this far, I guess I should give you a little story. Recently, I visited a friend in Texas who had just come out of the pandemic, and I was visiting because I hadn't seen him in years, so I figured I'd go say hello. And we were talking about how hard it was to interact with people after COVID, and like being holed up in your house prevented you from talking to people on a normal basis, so some of the social norms go out the door. And he said one of his first interactions with people after the pandemic was with the UPS driver. So the UPS driver comes up to the front door and he like delivers the package, and then he stops the UPS driver. He's like, "Do you know how long the grass should grow before I cut it?" And the UPS driver's like, "What are you talking about?" But like, I don't know. And he was like, "Well, how long should the grass be before I cut it? How high should it be?" And the UPS driver was just so confused. But basically it was like my friend just like, he didn't know like what conversations were appropriate with what people. And so that's why I asked about cutting the grass and how high should it be before he cuts it. And I just thought that was the purest, most sad post-COVID story I've ever heard. So anyways, I'll see you later. Take it easy. Bye. Go cut your grass.